So the positions I'm about to show you are tall kneeling and half kneeling. These are great for integrating core stability with hip mobility and hip stability as well. And half kneeling looks simple, but if you do it correctly, it's really difficult. In fact, I still have kind of a hard time getting into the proper position. I like to use this to steady myself. So you're going to bring one foot in front of you. You're in like a lunge or a split stance position. You want to try to square your hips as much as possible. What happens is people will let one hip kick out to the side, or this hip will come up really high. You want to try to get as square as possible so that this knee is in line with this hip and that this knee is in line with this hip. You don't want this knee to cave in or come out. So again, I'm going to try to get as square as I can. You can put a bench next to you to steady yourself or hold on to one of these. Another important thing is to not jam forward. People will be like, oh, this is easy. Well, they're hanging on their hip capsule. They're not actually using what they're supposed to be using to get their stability. So you want this to be in a nice straight line, this knee at about a 90-degree angle. And for a lot of people, myself included, just sitting in half kneeling is challenging, pretty challenging. So we try to get people to sit in this position and just breathe and take some relaxed belly breaths. Once you've done that, if you want to make it a little bit more difficult, you can grab a weight and you can do a half kneeling chop. A lot of people do half kneeling chop with bands or from a cable machine. That's fine. We do a lot of classes at my gym, J&M Strength and Conditioning, so it's just easier to use a kettlebell. So you'd grab a kettlebell under the horns once you're in a nice solid half kneeling position. You'd chop kind of down towards your hip and then up towards the up knee. And again, this is not an arm exercise. This is simply to challenge your stability. Up and down will be 1. We generally get 8 to 12. You can also do this from a tall kneeling position. So that was half kneeling and a half kneeling chop, and now I'm going to show you a tall kneeling chop. So tall kneeling, you're on both knees. Knees again are kind of in line with the hips. You're going to extend through your hips. So you don't want to be here. You want ribs down, glutes underneath you. You don't want to lean back. So again, it looks really simple, but there's a lot of ways that you can mess it up. So stay nice and tall, ribs down, glutes underneath you. And you're going to chop. With this one, we generally go side to side. You can do all one side if you'd like. You can use a kettlebell, you can use a weight plate, you can use whatever you'd like. So that was half kneeling, a half kneeling chop, and a tall kneeling chop.